Hello there. Welcome to another episode of Just the Dis. We talk about Blu-rays here. My name is Brian. And this is another collection update, mix of stuff here to show you guys. I'm going to start with this, which is the Wayne's World 30th Anniversary Steelbook from Paramount. And I got to tell you, this movie was such a big deal to me in high school. I was really into SNL at the time. I had just recently gotten my first girlfriend, my first serious girlfriend, and I was probably, mid to middle high school or something like that. Late sophomore or early junior year. I had not had a serious girlfriend up to that point. But one of the things that we bonded over was we both loved Saturday Night Live. So my girlfriend and I at the time would watch Saturday Night Live every Saturday religiously, and we often did it at her house because she had a really cool setup. Where I'm from in Wisconsin, we had basements, which I don't have here in California, which is a bummer. I miss basements, and obviously basements are a part of this movie. And so she had a basement, and they had a little TV down there, and we'd go down and just, hang out and watch Saturday Night Live. And this was right around the time that Wayne's World was sort of a hit sketch on SNL, and we just totally dug that vibe. We dug Mike Myers. We were very much into his sense of humor, and Wayne's World was like our thing. It was just one of those sketches that you just lock into, and the sense of humor of it, at least for me at the time, was defining. I just loved the way that Wayne and Garth looked at the world and how they didn't take things too seriously, and they just made fun of people in a certain way. They made fun of people who took themselves too seriously, which I still have a problem with, people who take themselves too seriously. That's actually one of my biggest issues with meeting somebody, is right away you can tell if they're the kind of person that takes themselves too seriously. And I got to be honest, I don't usually get along with folks that do. So that sort of stuck with me. But anyway, so when this movie came out, we just flipped out, this girl and I, and it was amazing. And we were so excited about it. And we saw it, I think opening weekend. And I just remember she stole one of my folders from school one day and just started writing quotes from Wayne's World on it. And even ridiculously silly things like, "When'd you get the CD player?" "When we got the money." That's a weird quote from this movie. Anyway, so obviously if you know this movie, it's about a cable access show with two guys living in a suburban basement in Aurora, Illinois. And this special edition has some stuff I think might not necessarily be new. I'm not actually sure if these are new features or not, but there's a director commentary. Penelope Spheris is the director. She of, I'll mention this in a second, but, Decline of Western Civilization and Decline of Western Civilization 2, The Metal Years, which is sort of hinted at by Lorne Michaels in the making of as one of the reasons she got the gig, was because they wanted it to be in that sort of heavy metal world milieu, if you will, and so she seemed like a good choice, and she was. But I always, had, at the time I didn't know who she was, and I hadn't seen The Boys Next Door, and I hadn't seen Suburbia, and how amazing she is, and how much I love her films, dudes. And so I just was like, whoever it was did a great job. But now looking back, it totally makes sense that they would have, picked her. But I love that this stands out in her filmography as something different than what she had been doing. These sort of more serious punk kid dramas, if you will, and that documentary or documentaries. But so I love that they, decided to go with her, and I think she did a wonderful job. And so it's just these two guys hanging out on their couch. They have a show. It's kind of like a podcast in a way, they have little segments they do every week, and their show gets picked up, and they sort of have to deal with fame, and they don't necessarily handle it that well, but they stick together, and it's a generally fun movie. And I do believe that without the Bohemian Rhapsody scene in this movie, we don't get a Bohemian Rhapsody movie later. I do believe that there was Queen was still around and making music and was still being played on the radio, but I just remember when Bohemian Rhapsody was highlighted in the film, and there's some great stories, by the way, in the making of about how much Mike and Dana's necks both hurt from all the headbanging. Like Mike actually says there's scenes where you can see after they did those scenes where they actually have to like turn their whole bodies to like respond to things. And I think that's just is kind of funny, but like now I'm sure I'll notice it as something that they're doing because their necks are hurting from the headbanging. But anyway, that's an iconic scene, and there's all kinds of quotable dialogue. I'm not worthy and all this stuff. So it's just a really memorable film. And so I was really excited to get this steelbook, and I want to listen to the commentary, but the making of is like 23 minutes, and it's pretty good. So definitely recommended. Nice steelbook from Paramount Pictures. Good stuff. Next up, we have Hammer film from Scream Factory. This is Paranoiac, and this is from 1962. Directed by Freddie Francis, a DP and director, and a really good filmmaker. And so this was one of his that I hadn't seen, and it stars the great Oliver Reed, as you can see on the front there. And here's the alternate cover there. That's the flipped artwork. But this one's screenplay by Jimmy Sangster, who's among my favorite Hammer writers, and it's a clever little story. The basic idea is that you have this sort of well-to-do family, and it's like an aunt and her nephew, played by Oliver Reed, who's like a spoiled brat, drunk, who is complaining to their accountant all the time now that he doesn't have enough money for booze, that they've allotted a certain amount of money from the trust money fund to to pay for booze per week, and he wants more money for booze, and he's just constantly drinking and philandering and is generally kind of a jerk. And then he's got a younger sister who is kind of disturbed, a little bit unhappy and on edge all the time. And we slowly come to find out that there was another brother that I think was older that committed suicide when they were a little younger, and that impacted both Oliver Reed's character and the sister in different ways. And so then the sort of crux of the thing is that suddenly this guy shows up claiming to be that brother, and that no, he didn't kill himself, and in fact he just ran away. And so then there's a question of like, is this guy really the brother? He seems to have a striking resemblance to the brother. It's been 8 years and he was like 15. So it would be difficult to know if it's him, like what he would look like, etc. So we have this new guy showing up claiming to be the brother, and we'll find out if he is or if he's not. Meanwhile, there's some weird stuff going on at the house with this. Oliver Reed plays this organ, and there's this weird character that looks like that I'm not going to spoil, but there's some bizarre stuff. In fact, I wish there was more of this character. There's only a couple scenes in the film, unfortunately. And I'm not going to say who that character is, if it's a character in the story, or if it's something else. But yeah, it's a nice suspenseful build to find out what's happening, who's involved, and is there any dark secrets in the past for this family, and there tends to be. So it's a nice little self-contained 80-minute, thriller. And this is a new 2K scan from the Inner Positive, and it's widescreen black and white, universal. Looks really nice. Transfer looks really nice. And yeah, Oliver Reed is just chewing the scenery. Like he, from the very beginning, like he flips out on the accountant, or he flips out on his, butler, about where's my booze, and just is screaming at this guy, throwing stuff, and you're like, oh man, he's going for it. And he does. He has a few more big scenes like that where he really unloads on people, yelling at people, gets very animated, and Oliver Reed is very good at that. So I dug this. It's definitely worthwhile. It has an audio commentary with film historian Bruce Hallenbeck, which is good, and then there's a making of as well. So this is a nice new Hammer collector's edition from Scream Factory. Well worth picking up if you're a fan. Then we have some stuff I got from Severin. This is Don't Go in the House, their new version of that, which has a lot of cool stuff. And I know this is a tricky movie because it's been released a lot. I alone have the Scorpion releasing Blu-ray. I have one from Subculture, a German import Blu-ray, and so this compiles some of this stuff, and I can't say for sure. I think it gets everything that the Scorpion had. But anyway, let's just start with this movie. What is it? It is a grindhouse favorite. It is the guy with the flamethrower on the cover of Nightmare USA. Stephen Thrower's amazing book about genre films. One of my favorite books, and just a beautiful hardcover book, which I highly recommend, which is not easy to get the hardcover version, I don't think, anymore. But regardless, the guy on the flamethrower in the cover, that's from this movie. And the idea is that this is got shades of Psycho, but it's just this guy works at a industrial plant. I can't remember what they do, but he witnesses a fire accident at the beginning of the film, and he just sort of stands there. This guy gets lit on fire, and the dude, played by Dan Grimaldi, in a really interesting performance, by the way, just stands there while this guy burns, and other people come in and try and throw blankets on him and all this. And then, we find out that he lives with his mother. There's some complications there. There's some flashbacks to his mom pulling his arms over the stove, the fire of the stove, and burning him when he was a kid, and that gave him this complex about fire. And he's always trying to get women to come to his house so he can burn them with a flamethrower. Not to give away too much, but that's the hook of the movie. And it's really interesting to see him finding women who are walking home from work or whatever. And Dan Grimaldi's performance is so interesting because his cadence is very strange. He seems like a creep. He seems weird. And you can't believe that any woman would get in a car with him. And so when they do, it's almost kind of funny. But yeah, this movie is just bizarre and strange. And that performance is, like I said, truly unique. And I'm just a big fan. So with this, you get, it's a 2-disc collection, 3 remastered versions plus new special features. Now on this disc, it's uncut and fully remastered like never before. Oh, he's an incinerator worker. There we go. And he was on The Sopranos. Let's see here. New 2K scan from the original negative, plus the TV version and integral cut, which combines scenes from both the theatrical cut and so you have the theatrical, TV, and integral. So you have 3 different cuts of the film. And you can see here on disc 1, you have The Burning, which is another title for the film. Alternate TV cut, audio commentary with Joe Ellison and producer Ellen Hamill. Archival commentary with actor Dan Grimaldi. Housekeeping interviews with co-producer Matthew Mallinson and co-writer Joseph R. Mansfield. We Went in the House, the location of Don't Go in the House. Playing with Fire, an archival interview with actor Dan Grimaldi. That's all on the first disc. And then the second disc, which has the integral cut and the TV cut. I can't remember if they're both on disc 1. Oh, no. The theatrical and TV are on disc 1. Integral is on disc 2. And so I guess the integral is kind of like the TV, the uncut version, maybe. I don't know. And that has a new audio commentary, I believe new, or from somewhere with Stephen Thrower himself, which is great. I love Stephen Thrower. He's like a Kim Newman, he's a very knowledgeable genre, historian. And so you get a nice commentary from him on this, one of his favorites. Minds of Fire video essay by David Flint. And then Burn Baby Burn interview with Joseph Ellerson. Grindhouse All-Stars interview with filmmakers. And Open Mat Flamethrower scene. So yeah, really nice new edition of Don't Go in the House. Maybe the definitive version. I got the slipcase here. And yeah, I dig this movie. It's messed up, but I'm a fan. And then I went and picked up Delirium, which is another new Severin release. And this is one I didn't really know that well. And I haven't got a chance to watch yet. Here's the cover. And this one, it says, for his feature film debut, Peter Maris, Ministry of Vengeance, Diplomatic Immunity, took portions of an unfinished urban conspiracy thriller and added a new psycho killer procedural to create what may be the most unusual, vicious proto-slasher shocker of the 70s. When a series of savage murders rock St. Louis, the police investigation will lead to a deranged Vietnam vet who looks like a cracked out Seth MacFarlane. An underground organization of white-collar vigilantes, gratuitous nudity, graphic violence, and an absolute masterclass in low-budget regional filmmaking. One of the very first Section 2 video nasties, this longtime VHS rarity, also known as Psycho Puppet, is now presented on disc for the first time ever, restored from the only known 35mm print in existence. So this sounds crazy, but regional genre proto-slasher, I'm into that. So I'm definitely going to check this one out. Directing Delirium, interview with director Peter Maris, and Monster is Man, interview with special effects artist Bob Shelley, also included on this new Severin all-region disc. And I should have mentioned whether or not Don't Go in the House is all-region as well, and it is not. It is just Region A. Okay. Next up, we have from the good people at Arbelos Films. We have Bellatar's film Damnation. This is another one that I've been curious to see. Yeah, I love that they've done this work with Bellatar. This, it says, a mid-career masterwork by legendary Hungarian art house auteur Bellatar, and for the first time, and for the first of his internationally acclaimed trilogy of films written in collaboration with author Laszlo Kreszhorkal, including the legendary Satan Tango, which they also released, and which I do recommend you get. Damnation chronicles the doomed affair between bar Titanic regular Carer and the cruel cabaret singer he pines for while scheming to displace her brutish husband. A poignant allegory for communism that solidified Tar's unique aesthetic, Damnation, presented here in a new 4K director-approved restoration, is photographed in an exquisite black and white palette underscored by the mesmerizing long takes that would become his trademark. Yeah, of course, we're talking about like really long takes. Like Jim Jarmusch looks at these and is just like, wow. Like these are really long takes. So yeah, that's definitely Bellatar's thing. You're watching the movie and you're just absorbing it by watching the same take forever. So it's got a mesmerizing, hypnotic quality that I think is really unique, and you can see why it becomes his trademark, and he's so good at it. But yeah, so new 4K restoration from the original 35 camera negative, new video interview with Bellatar, new video interview with Miklos Zdekli B, new video interview with Mihaly Vig, archival, that's the composer, archival newsreels from Oraslani and Darag Coal Miners, new English subtitle translation, new essay, Disintegration and Revival, Bellatar's Damnation by Jay Kuhner. And then you've got like this little photo sort of fold out. It's not quite a booklet because it's just pictures, but cool pictures that fold out, and a really nice embossed side-loading slipcover, like the kind they had for Son of the White Mare. which is kind of cool. It's like an envelope almost. So really cool. Has a little thing on the back here. It's over, all over. There's no end now. It can't fade. It won't fade ever again. Never, maybe never more. But yeah, so that's the latest I have from Arbelos, who has been doing great work for a long time. Definitely check out Son of the White Mare if you haven't. I think I mentioned that in my favorites of 2021, but it's some crazy cool animation stuff that I really, really recommend. Just a few more here. This is going to seem random. I think I might have talked about this at some point. You know what? I don't know if I actually did. This is a Kino release. It's an older one from last year, but I finally got around to watching it, and I just have to really recommend it. It's called Backlash. It's from 1956, and it is directed by the great John Sturges, who did The Great Escape and Bad Day at Black Rock, and just a really great man's man kind of director. And this is an earlier effort from him. This is from 1956, and it stars the great well, he's right there on the cover, Richard Widmark and Donna Reed, in a really cool, like, smoky femme fatale, black hair, like, really cool setup. And sort of the idea of the film is that we see Richard Widmark's character at the beginning of the movie. He's at this specific outpost where there's supposed to be all this gold, but there's some people buried there, and suddenly Donna Reed shows up, and then she's hanging out with him, and then she asks him, "Oh, could you get me some cigarettes from my, satchel on my horse?" He goes over there, and suddenly there's a dude way up in the rocks, starts shooting at him, and it's just like, what's happening here? And Widmark assumes that they're trying to, swindle him and kill him, and he's able to kill the guy. And then he brings him into town, come to find out that this is a deputy from the, I think it's called Silver City maybe, that he's killed, but it was in self-defense. This guy was trying to kill him the whole time. And so he doesn't feel bad about it, and he doesn't want anything bad to happen to him. He just tells the sheriff, look, this is what happened. And the sheriff's like, look, you got to go. Like, I get that you didn't meet. This is a legit, self-defense thing, but this guy's got two brothers, and they will be coming to look for you, and so you got to leave. And he's like, well, I will, but I need information. And basically we come to find out, just to the setup, that there were 5 men buried at that site he was at with this gold. And what happened was they went there looking for the gold, and then they were ambushed by Apaches, and Widmark's idea is that there was a 6th man. 5 men were buried, but a 6th guy bailed on the 5 and could have gotten them help, but just went missing and was never heard from. And he wants to find that 6th man because Widmark's father was one of the 5 people killed in that ambush. So his mission is to try and find the guy that left his dad for dead. And Donna Reed's got something to do with that, but we don't know what her deal is exactly. We can't quite tell what her story is. So there's a mystery at the center of this, is like, who is this 6th man? And so then it's just sort of becomes this thing of them meeting this rancher, meeting some other people, and kind of trying to figure out who this 6th guy is, because they have no clue, and nobody seems to know. There's one guy that was there that buried the bodies that maybe can give some information, but he may not have all the pieces, so they have to put this together. So it's a cool, mystery build, and when it gets to the end, it's great in terms of the reveals and in terms of the final standoffs and stuff. It's really solid. So just a really underrated, underseen gem from John Sturges, and so I just wanted to recommend it. It's got a wonderful commentary from, channel favorite, show favorite Sam Deegan. I love having her on this disc, but yeah, just a great Widmark and a great Donna Reed, and I want to pull this in and recommend it. It's an older one, but having just watched it, I was like, oh, we got to talk about that. Next up, I have a new Blu-ray of Possession from Umbrella Entertainment. I mean, I have this one here from Mondo Vision, and so I'm not sure what I guess I can do a little comparison of the extras, but Possession, a notorious Elric Kane favorite, a story of divorce and monsters, and just a really unique movie for sure. So this one is the new Umbrella Blu-ray, and it's Region B, but I think it will play on my Region A player. I've noticed that Umbrella marks Region B, but doesn't tend to actually be region locked. I have to check this one out. But so you have an audio commentary with Andrei Zulawski, audio commentary with co-writer Frederick Tootin, The Other Side of the Wall, The Making of Possession, interview with Andrei Zulawski, U.S. cut of Possession, Repossessed, featurette on the U.S. cut of Possession, which is interesting. Alric always talks about this very short cut of the movie and how different it is. Divided City, location featurette, The Sounds of Possession, interview with composer Andrei Korzinski, Our Friend in the West, interview with producer Christian Ferry, and Basha, poster analysis featurette, the international and U.S. theatrical trailers as well. So you have a poster analysis featurette. But yeah, so this is a new one from Umbrella, who do really nice Blu-rays. And yeah, so I'm excited to check out this other version. And I can read you from the Mondovision, which is a really nice disc. I know they've got a 4K that I still need to get at some point, but let's see here. So this has The Other Side of the Wall, The Making of, video interview with Zulawski, video interview with translator, and audio commentary with Zulawski. Yeah, so actually there's definitely some stuff on this other disc that is not included on the Mondovision. So you have some new features for the hardcore Possession fans. Definitely worth a pickup. So that is Possession from Umbrella. Then I have another one from Umbrella Entertainment. This is called Undead from the Spierig brothers. And it says, prepare yourself for the gore-drenched horror comedy debut from the directors of Daybreakers and Predestination. If you're aware of those Ethan Hawke films, these are the guys who made them, and I like both those films. I think Daybreakers is a good vampire movie, and Predestination is a really interesting time travel drama that I'm a big fan of. So this is their debut, and it says, an onslaught of meteorites crash land in the small country town of Berkeley. The bombardment brings with it an otherworldly infection. The living dead are awoken, and a small band of desperate survivors, led by local beauty pageant winner Renee, Felicity Mason, and town loony Marion, Mungo McKay, fight for survival in a world gone mad. The Spearing Brothers Undead is packed with action, loaded with laughs, and filled with twists and turns, and defining it as an Aussie cult classic. So that's cool. This is all region. It's marked as all region. Audio commentary with the directors and cinematographer. You have an onset of the Undead, Attack of the Undead short film, Making of the Undead, homemade dolly video, and Undead camera and makeup tests. So this seems like a Dead Alive-y kind of, fun zombie comedy, and I'm totally into that. I'm totally into checking this one out. I didn't realize it was from, I thought it was like newer, but it's from like 2001, I think. So yeah, so definitely want to check this out based on the fact that I like the studio films these guys have done. And this limited edition includes the motion picture soundtrack as well, which is really nice. So this is part of the Beyond Genre series. I don't know if you saw that at the top of the Possession. It's volume 11, and this is volume 12. So a couple cool Umbrella releases. And then lastly, I brought in just a DVD, a movie that I'd love to see get a Paramount Blu-ray, and that's Racing with the Moon. This is directed by the great Richard Benjamin, actor and director. And it stars Sean Penn, Nicolas Cage, and Elizabeth McGovern. And it's just underseen and underappreciated. And this is from 1984. And it is, it's, as it says here, a film so tender, so insightful, full of heart that you'll never quite forget it. This is the story of Henry Hopper Nash, Sean Penn, and his buddy Nick Cage, enjoying their last boys' exploits before they enter the Marines. This is like circa World War II, I want to say. And Elizabeth McGovern portrays Penn's mysterious girlfriend. What ensues is a tender, bittersweet tale of lost innocence and the trauma of growing up too fast. The result is a magic moment brilliantly captured within the emotional cross-current of America's dramatic time. So yeah, so it's a period piece, but it's just a great, coming of age, friend movie. Nick Cage, you can see they're running along the railroad tracks. That's sort of one of the signature scenes of the movie, but they just get along really well and they're really fun together. It's just one of the underrated Cage performances, and Sean Penn. I mean, they're both great, but this movie is underrated, so I feel like neither performance has been that well seen. And Elizabeth Montgovern is wonderful in this as well. And this actually has some features that would go great to port right over onto a Blu-ray. You have a commentary with Richard Benjamin, which is excellent. He obviously also did My Favorite Year, which has gotten a Blu-ray from Warner Archive, which is another really great movie that is, I think, still underrated. Thankfully, it got that Blu-ray. But yeah, this one's way under the radar. Racing with the Moon, the story featurette, the making of Racing with the Moon, the story goes on. And so this was like a really nice special edition DVD when it came out. And so it's a really sweet movie and one that I highly recommend checking out. It is available to stream on most platforms. I think you can rent it or buy it digitally, but you won't get those extras. So the DVD is still worth grabbing if you can find it. But yeah, just a really excellent 80s coming-of-age movie that I think has slipped under the radar and is worth checking out. So that is it for this episode. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.